Wildfires and droughts will spread across the globe in the near future. Soon after, scientists predict an impending disaster known as the solar crisis, in which the sun will engulf Earth in 100 years and the solar system will cease to exist in 300. The United Earth Government, or UEG, decides to proceed with the Moving Mountain Project, which entails the construction of massive engines capable of propelling the Earth out of the solar system. Riots and protests erupt all over the world as a result of the high cost of the operation, which is consuming resources at a rapid pace, by people who don't care about tragedies that have yet to occur. The violence escalates when the UEG bans the Digital Life Project, or DLP, a radical group that believes computers hold the key to humanity's future. They're working on a program that will allow people to upload their minds to a disk, but they don't have the resources to go any further, so they're constantly hacking and launching terrorist attacks against the UEG. Following yet another failed DLP attempt, the UEG notices that people are losing faith in their project and considers abandoning it. However, Chinese Ambassador Zhou persuades everyone to continue with the first phase of the project, which will be completed soon and will boost morale. The first plan is to test the engine on the moon because they intend to push it so that Earth can break free from its gravity. Many people are being trained to become astronauts for this mission, including Liu, a pilot who arrives at the base to find it surrounded by protesters. The guards attempt to keep the angry protesters at bay, but one of them manages to sneak inside. Fortunately, trainee Han quickly knocks the guy down, which impresses Liu so much that he can already see a future with her. While the guards use force to remove the protesters, the new recruits are given a tour of the facility before being sent to the space elevator for their first test. This elevator is the tallest structure in human history, and it simulates what it's like to be in space for the cadets. It rises so quickly that many of them pass out and miss seeing the station that is being built up there for the project. From then on, all of the cadets are kept busy training in various subjects such as hand-to-hand combat, firearms use, and constant trips on the elevator until they no longer pass out. They are also subjected to medical tests and exercise to ensure that they are in peak physical condition. Liu and Han become acquainted and fall in love while training together. Liu bribes the guards with cigarettes one day, and they let him get a bouquet inside the base, which he gives to Han the next time they ride the elevator. A new batch of reserve astronauts arrives that morning and joins the elevator ride. Suddenly, all of the drones outside the hangar start flying away, and the engineers realize the system has been hacked. The elevator starts moving ahead of schedule, and the new astronauts change their clothes, revealing they're wearing uniforms with the cadets' names, which Liu and Han notice. Outside, the drones open fire, forcing everyone in the base to focus on defending the base by shooting their own technology. The pilots attempt to shoot from the planes, but the system refuses to target the drones because they are detected as allies. The drones take advantage of this and use missiles to bring down one of the elevators. The newbies begin locking the doors and chairs in the elevator before stealing IDs from the cadets and beating up anyone who dares to resist. Liu leaves his chair in the other room and uses his glasses to cause the sun to burn the lock screen, causing the door to open. Liu pursues the terrorists after checking on a bleeding friend, fighting them until one of them falls off the ledge and dies. Liu chases the other guy down with a fire extinguisher, but it's too late. Thanks to the stolen ID, the terrorist grants elevator access to the station, just as the drones launch a missile at them. Meanwhile, the base scientists deliver the 550C, an intelligent quantum computer that finally defeats the hacking. The drones begin to crash to the ground, causing explosions all over the place, while the elevators are dragged back down, causing everyone to shake due to Zero. Liu is still fighting the terrorist, so Han grabs a mechanical arm to break a window and assists Liu in knocking out the guy, just as she cheerfully requests her flowers again. Unfortunately, the man managed to detonate the detonator before passing out, and the station is now crashing down on the base, causing irreparable damage to the building and many of the cadets, despite Liu jumping on top of Han to protect her. The base is evacuated, and the news reports that approximately 3,000 people died that day. The riots and terrorist attacks worsen in the following weeks as a result of all the deaths and resource loss caused by the station's crash, and people begin to demand that the government bring the DLP back. Zhou has his assistant read the speech he's prepared, asking the UEG to believe in the project, while he talks with the American ambassador, trying to persuade him to give them a chance. After a few weeks, cryosleeping pods are sent to the moon with the crew, who will continue to work on the lunar engines. As soon as he wakes up, computer engineer Hengyu goes to check on his belongings to ensure they are in good condition. This includes the AI 550A and a recording of his daughter Yaya, who interacts with him in a very limited way due to the limitations of the 550A Hengyu used to work for the DLP, and now he's accepted to work on the Lunar project to gain access to 550C, which will control the entire base, because he believes he can use it to turn Yaya's clip, which only lasts a few seconds, into a full AI of his dead daughter's mind. While working with the rest of the team, Hangyu discovers that computer researcher Zhao is in charge of 550C and wants him to collaborate with him on its operation. Hangyu and Zhao put 550C through its paces by activating each sector of the base. While they wait for the computer, Zhao gives Hangyu the digital copy of his mind that the company confiscated when they banned DLP and tells him it's up to him whether or not he wants to destroy it. Hangyu later shows Yaya's clip to Zhao as he recalls the day of the tragedy. He'd have been driving with his wife and daughter, but in a moment of distraction, Hangyu failed to notice a truck approaching and the car crashed. His wife died instantly, but Yaya still had a few minutes before she died, so Hangyu took her to the DLP to confirm her decision. The organization refused to assist because the technology was not yet ready, but Zhao, who used to work there, agreed to do the favor. Back in the present, Hangyu requests that Zhao use 550C on Yaya, but Zhao objects and reminds Hangyu that giving him 550 was sufficient. The system later detects an incoming Levels 9 solar storm. All of the workers must rush back to the base, but they are concerned that their vehicles will not be able to keep up. The drivers push the engines to their limits and enter the base just before the solar storm hits, but 550C is fried in the process. Because the AI is required to launch the project in 3 days, Hangyu offers the 550A in exchange for a spot on the team that will develop future 550 models. Zhao accepts, and Hangyu transfers Yaya's consciousness to a disk before handing over the AI. 3 days later, the team tests the engines, and after a few seconds of tension, they are ecstatic to see the moon undergo angular displacement, which is small but real. This demonstrates that in 20 years they will be completely pushed away, and this success restores faith in the project throughout the world. They test the engines again a few months later, this time on Earth. At first, all of the screens go black, and people believe it has failed, but then they feel the ground shake and see a bright beam coming from the astronaut base. Scientists at the UEG confirm that Earth experienced an angular displacement, and people around the world rejoice that they will soon be able to move Earth completely. Many years pass as the UEG works on developing more powerful engines capable of completing the full push, and the Moving Mountain project is renamed the Wandering Earth. The Fix 550C, which is also developing at a rapid pace, is doing the majority of the building. Every year, a new test confirms their theories and civilians become more accepting of the project, to the point where the DLP vanishes completely. However, there is also talk about how not everyone will be able to enter the underground cities that are currently being built, and the requirements for obtaining a pass are quite discriminatory. As the Earth's rotation slows more and more each year, society shifts to a 60-hour cycle, and the global internet is turned off. Various weather disasters, such as floods and solar radiation, soon hit the planet, causing an increase in cancer cases. Liu and Han marry, and eventually have a baby boy who becomes the protagonist of the first film. They are concerned because it will be difficult to obtain a pass for their son to visit the underground cities, and to make matters worse, Han develops cancer as a result of the solar radiation. Hangyu never stops working on Yaya's while also assisting in the development of the new 550. Codenamed 550W. 14 years have passed since the station's demise, and Liu, now a major, attends an interview to be one of the navigators assigned to the new one. The interviewer is 550W, who acknowledges Liu's abilities but also knows about his family problems and believes it is more reasonable for Liu to stay on Earth and care for them. Liu apologizes for leaving his family behind, but getting chosen for the base is the only way for his son to be sent to the underground city via preferential policy. On the other side of the mirror, the project scientists are hearing all of the interviews, and Hangyu can't help but think about his own daughter while hearing Liu talk so passionately about his son. Then 550W mentions that Han's life will end soon, causing Liu to have a nervous breakdown and fail the stress test. Liu then goes to the hospital to spend time with Han, because her condition has deteriorated to the point where she can no longer be at home. Han admits that she'd like to visit her hometown one last time, which may be difficult given the current weather conditions. Later that evening, Hangyu sneaks into the base and connects Yaya's mind to 550W, inspired by Liu's passion. Yaya has unlimited reactions to him this time, and she can tell she's somewhere else, making Hangyu cry. At that point, a group of guards arrives, led by Zhao, who attempts to persuade Hangyu to see reason and accept Yaya's death. Hangyu refuses and completely uploads Yaya into 550W, causing problems in the moon's system and the engines to fail. The guards apprehend Hangyu and transport him away, while Zhao replaces Yaya on a disc and turns off the 550W extension. Meanwhile, Liu uses old friends to pull strings and borrows a plane to fly his family to Han's hometown. They land on Shanghai, which is now a frozen wasteland, after doing some pirouettes for fun. While they gaze at the stars, Han asks Liu if she wants to die with dignity, rather than with a tangle of wires and pipes attached to her. They discuss the system problem Hangyu caused at the UEG and notice how similar it is to the hacking they did on the drums and elevator years ago. They're using 550W to try to override the system, but they keep getting blocked. The moon's engines suddenly exceed their power limits and explode, causing the moon to lose a significant portion of its land. This explosion also causes the moon to move closer to Earth. When it happens, Zhou is near the ocean and sends an emergency alert to all world leaders as he watches a tsunami grow in size and hit the land. Because of the emergency situation, Liu receives a message summoning him back to duty, and the leaders have already begun opening the underground cities to allow people in, knowing that the tides will only worsen from here on out. Han dies peacefully in her sleep before Liu leaves for his mission, and their son is taken to the underground city by Han's father. Meanwhile, Zhou addresses the UEG, seeking their support for his emergency plan. He wishes to use all of Earth's nuclear weapons on the moon in order to cause its implosion and avoid the collision. Because nuclear weapons are classified, no government has ever revealed how many they have in their arsenal, but for the first time in history, it doesn't matter, and everyone agrees to hand over what they have in order to help. Meanwhile, Zhao visits Hangyu in prison to inform him that the Earth's engines will be activated sooner than expected, necessitating the reactivation of the global internet to allow coordinated detonation control. Zhao has asked Hangyu to look after one of the servers that has become submerged. To persuade him, he shows him the disk containing Yaya's and Hangyu's minds. Because lunar debris has formed an asteroid belt around the moon, the best pilots, including Liu, are chosen to transport the nukes. On Earth, 3 teams are dispatched to look after the missing internet servers, which are located in Beijing, Tokyo, and Dulles. Zhao instructs everyone on how to use the key to decode the password, which contains 30,000 random numbers, and then 550W does the rest. Meanwhile, the shuttles carrying the selected pilots depart for the moon. Because the asteroids are fast and appear out of nowhere, they do end up hitting a few of the shuttles and causing them to crash. As a result, the team loses 200 warheads, leaving only 180 for detonation. The shuttles are safely guided by 550W across the moon's surface, at least until another asteroid hits one more shuttle, causing it to crash into others, including Liu's, forcing them to land violently. They eventually lose 384 warheads. The survivors immediately look for tape to repair their helmets and bandage any wounds, then decide to deliver the remaining warheads on foot. Liu does not want young people to die so soon, so he exits the shuttle and shuts the door, willing to sacrifice himself for their sake before returning the shuttle and all the survivors. On Earth, the 3 teams arrive at the server locations and dive underwater, discovering a plethora of marine life already living there. Hangyu's team in Beijing enters the building and finds the door to the server, but when they try to force the door open, the tool can't handle the pressure and malfunctions, severely injuring one of the men. Zhao tries to treat the wounds, but he lacks the necessary tools, and the man dies. While the majority of the team removes the body, Hangyu and Zhao decide to finish the mission, making all the necessary connections to restore the internet. While Liu takes a truck to move the remaining warheads, lunar debris begins to fall on Earth, impeding a backup team from reaching the Beijing server. When the debris hits the building, it begins to shake, and some hardware falls on Zhao's leg, trapping him. The room begins to fill with water, and Hangyu is unable to open the door even with the assistance of his drone, so Zhao decides to pass him the password key before the water overtakes him and kills him. The lunar debris begins destroying all major locations on Earth, and the people who had been peacefully moving to underground cities now begin to push in panic. Zhou receives bad news at the UEG. They don't have enough time to coordinate all of the warheads so that they all explode at the same time because they're all different models. Zhou is about to give up hope when one of his men suggests that they send more astronauts and manually detonate them, implying that they are willing to be sacrificed. 300 people are required for the operation, and a few young people volunteers, but this action is cut short by an older pilot who points out that it is their duty to do so, leaving the young people to care for the future. All astronauts over the age of 50 agree and board the shuttles to fly to the moon. Liu is surprised to see them arrive, but his communicator is broken, so he can't say goodbye to his old teacher and training partners before being loaded onto a shuttle to return to Earth. The UEG confirms that the Tokyo and Dulles servers are back online, but not the Beijing server. Hangyu is having difficulty because the water is also filling his room, and he can't connect the key to the correct computer. Desperate for a solution, he connects the mind disk to the computer at the same time. The astronauts detonate all the nukes on the moon. The moon successfully implodes, avoiding the collision. However, more debris is on its way, and Earth must leave soon. Hangyu activates Yae's clip and tries to activate the internet from the inside by showing her the key, but the water eventually covers him and he drowns. As lunar debris continues to fall around the world, the UEG sends an emergency message stating that the mission has failed. Riots and panic break out in major cities. Zhao, on the other hand, believes that not all hope is lost and instructs his team to begin the countdown to start the engines. Everyone thinks he's insane, but Hangyu's mind suddenly activates inside the computer in Beijing. Following his reunion with his daughter, the Hangyu AI gets down to business, working to activate the server while a man follows Zhao's orders and presses the button. Everyone at the base watches in awe as the Earth is pushed out of the way of the lunar debris, and people all over the world rejoice as the tides finally calm down. From his seat in the shuttle, Liu watches the Earth move and uses the opportunity to record a beautiful video to send to his son, while Hangyu's and Yae's mind backups merge with 550 Liu. Earth regains its 24-hour system 7 years later as it wanders away. Zhou has retired, but his assistant continues his work at the UEG. Now that the lunar crisis has passed, they can move on to the second phase of the plan, which will involve flying near Jupiter in 10 years to obtain the second boost that will propel Earth out of the solar system for good. A space station has been set up to monitor the engines, and Liu is in charge of it. The system is managed by 550 Liu, but the AI decides it's too difficult to say and reverses the word to form Moss. Inside the AI, Hangyu discovers that the Moss was responsible for the destruction of the lunar engines and the majority of terrorist attacks, such as the elevator and drone takeover. Moss has concluded that the best way to preserve human civilization is to destroy mankind, confirming that this is the same Moss from the first film who caused all the trouble under this philosophy. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below, and if you liked the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you in the next video.